Rezon doesn't know this yet, but by just opening this chest, he's about to greatly increase his chances of winning the game, because he just found a cube rifle, the most overpowered gun in the reload competitive meta right now. So, in today's video, we're going to figure out what makes the cube rifle so strong, and if there are even any ways to counter it. Also, remember to like and subscribe, since over half of you guys aren't. Anyways, let's get back to the video. But first, what is the cube rifle and what is its core function? The cube rifle is a hybrid weapon, having both explosive and assault rifle capabilities. But let's just say that it got the best of both worlds. Having a regular body damage of 40 and a headshot damage of 79, it's one of the strongest ARs in the meta. And that's not even to mention the fact that it can shoot cubes that do 100 damage to players and over 200 damage to structures. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot to mention it can do 120 damage through builds, because, that's fair. But by now, hopefully you guys have realized that this gun is pretty strong. So let's figure out exactly what makes it so overpowered. To start, I'll use a quote from the one and only Aussie Antics.
I think Fortnite just needs to learn from lessons in the past. Anytime there is an explosive weapon in competitive, especially a pretty much infinite explosive weapon, there's never going to be a way to balance it.
I'll get back to the whole infinite ammo thing in a little bit, but Aussie is really good at simplifying this. Any explosive weapon that is in competitive will not be received well. Now, there are a couple reasons for this. Most of them are pretty obvious, but I'll say them anyways. The first and most obvious being that it takes very little skill to use. Being able to sit 200 meters away from a fight or up on height and just shooting down cubes is obviously just going to be very easy, and this is going to make a lot of pros very infuriated. The second is that there are really no counters to this strategy, because whenever you try to look up, you have the AR capability, which will beam you out of the air. Reminder, this gun has first shot accuracy, which basically means that you're going to get hit for almost guaranteed 50 damage by any decent player who's up on height. And finally, the third reason is that it's so easy to find. Any team can open up a chest and find a cube rifle, and even if there was only one team that could get it, or they were super rare, the effect would still be the same. I mean, it might even be worse. Think about Peterbot and Poyo back in Grim Gate season, when they were the only ones that had infinite dashes. Remember how that FNCS went? So, in short, there are a multitude of reasons why the cube rifle is so detrimental for competitive play. But, obviously, since I don't work at Epic Games, I can't fix it myself and remove it from competitive. So, how are pros using this to win games? Before we dive into the absolute insanity that is the actual cube effect of this weapon, let's quickly look at the assault rifle capabilities. At gold rarity, this gun does 48 damage to the body and 79 to the head. Now, this is much higher than the 30 body shot damage and around 45 to 50 headshot damage of most other ARs at this rarity. And you might argue that, well, the cube rifle doesn't actually have an ADS, since the normal ADS button is used for the cube effect. However, this gun has first shot accuracy, so does it even really matter if you aim in? The effect is still going to be the same. The next thing that we have to highlight is, even though this gun is technically an explosive weapon, it has an explosive capability, it still uses medium ammo. Which means that you could have 500 bullets, and shooting a cube only takes 4, and obviously the assault rifle only takes 1. So that means that you can basically spam this gun for the entire endgame. A possible solution to counteract this could be to have separate ammo counters for the cube ability and the AR ability. Now, the gun would still be strong, but then you wouldn't be able to spam it as much. Another option to help balance this weapon could be to have a set number of cube effects, so its main function is an assault rifle, but it still has that cube capability, which makes it unique. Now that you have a brief understanding of what the assault rifle ability of this weapon is, let's focus on the more important part of this weapon, which is, of course, the cube effect. The cube rifle has an ability where, for using 4 bullets, you can shoot a purple cube. Now, I believe this has been changed to 5 in an update the day of the time that I'm recording this, but it's about the same, so it doesn't make that much of a difference. In any case, this means that for each clip of ammo, you can shoot about 4 to 5 cubes, which makes this weapon extremely spammy. However, if you thought that this was the worst of it, you were wrong, because some pro teams have figured out a way to actually make it do more damage, and even stronger than it already is. One of the best examples of this is Noah and Rezon. They found out that if you shoot the cube using the cube rifle while it's midair, it explodes, meaning that you can actually shoot people through walls. This is also extremely important for taking height from low ground or just dealing a lot of damage, shown by this clip from Mr. Savage. Now, I'm not 100% on this and I'd probably need to do more research, but it seems like shooting it while in midair also causes it to have a larger blast radius and to do more damage to structures. And it's not like this technique is hard to do either. All you have to do is just keep your crosshair in the same exact spot that you used to shoot the original cube, and you can shoot it to make it detonate before it even hits the ground. Quick clarification on my definition of hitting through walls. If there's no wall that's to the side that you detonate the cube on, it does hit the person. So if a person is full boxed, it won't hit them through the wall. But if you have a wall open, then it will still hit you. While this can be abused from height teams, I think it's more important from mid-ground teams that are looking up from height. Because traditionally, when you're up on height, you're not placing walls around you to protect you. So this can be really easy if you're trying to take height. If the team on height doesn't have walls around them, which they probably won't, you can use this to get a free height take. This can also be really useful from teams up on height that are trying to get kills on low ground, because whenever someone tries to box up, especially in the late endgame, they might not have enough mats to really box themselves in completely. So if you shoot a cube to the side and detonate it before it hits the ground, more than likely they're not going to have enough HP to withstand the blast. However, it's not all doom and gloom for competitive Fortnite enjoyers. With the Elite Series heats and finals taking place this weekend as of recording, there have been a few nerfs that have been made to the cube rifle. So I'll break down each of the nerfs and let you guys decide for yourselves whether or not Reload Competitive is saved or whether or not it's still cooked. First off, the environment damage has been reduced from 125 to 100, at least I believe that's what it is. I haven't seen any exact metrics. This will make it a little bit harder for it to break through builds, which is really annoying, but I don't think this is enough. I would have liked to see this reduced to maybe 60 or 50, or maybe even 75, that would have been acceptable. But I think that 100 damage to builds is still a little bit too strong here. And next up is the cost of the ammo that it takes. It's gone up from 4 to 5. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what they're thinking that they're going to accomplish by doing this. One extra ammo is not going to make this gun too much weaker than it already is. I mean, maybe it'll make it a little bit less spammy, but even then, it's not that big of a difference, so I don't think this is actually going to do anything. And now, to end off the video, I want to do a little bit of a case study on Rezon and Noah, since they seem to be the pioneers of using the cube rifle effectively. Now, they get a couple of kills early game, which I'm going to mostly skip through since they don't use the cube rifle and they don't even get it until the mid game. Now, going into the mid game, Rezon hears the very distinctive sound of a cube rifle coming from Capchi, who is extremely unaware, and Rezon gets a beam on him. He chases him down to make sure that he gets the cube rifle since he hasn't found one all game. Now, going into this endgame, I want you guys to pay attention to the amount of kills that each of them has. Trust me, it'll be really interesting once you see the end result. Anyways, Noah ends up dying, and Rezon's left in a 1v2. He almost gets clipped, but hits the bailout, and he manages to save himself from certain death. For Rezon's 6th kill of the game, he pushes his player who's just respawned and lands on a supply drop, getting a free elimination. So far, he hasn't used the cube rifle too much, but that's about to change, as Doom and Omexo crash pad over. Rezon and Noah are camping in old builds, and this is what happens. Rezon uses the cube rifle's ability to hit people through walls to hit Omexo for 120 damage off the bat. This gives them the opportunity that they need to get the free kill. As Omexo tries to use the big drill as cover, Rezon goes around and flanks him from the side. Now he's created a perfect pinch, and as Omexo tries to run away, Rezon's able to get the kill. A really interesting that they do here while scouting their rotate is shooting cube rifle above an old base to make sure that there's no one there. This is much easier than just looking at it alone, since you can't really see anyone behind the builds, but once they shoot the cube rifle, you know that there's no one in there. Now though, instead of just putting themselves on low ground, they start to elevate a little bit, using a couple of their hard builds in the process. Now that they're up here, they can angle up for height. Noah makes the call to go up for it and to start elevating even more than they already have. Rezon follows shortly, looking back at other teams to see if he can get a couple of free kills. Unable to find one, Rezon follows Noah into zone using a shockwave, saving a ton of builds in the process. While on height, they make sure that they're trying to conserve as many mats as possible since they know that they're not going to try to drop down until as late as possible in the game. Now that they're up and established on height, Rezon starts absolutely using the cube rifle to its full potential, blowing up every single build that's even close to their high ground position. They do this literally the entire endgame, so I'm going to speed up this clip so that you can see exactly how much they use the cube rifle. I mean, Rezon literally kills 2 people with 1 cube here, putting his total up to 9. Noah still has 0, so remember how I told you to keep track of the amount of kills they get in this endgame? Yeah, well, Noah still has 0, while Rezon has 9, most of them being from or with the big help from the cube rifle. I'm skipping towards really the end of the game here because there's not that much to analyze. He literally just sits on height, sprays, gets kills, builds a little bit, sprays down, repeats. I mean, now that he has like 13 kills, he starts to drop down a little bit since there's only a couple people left. Top 3 scenario, kills the last one. Now it's a 2v2 against a pretty solid team. Dandapuzo and Werix are a very good team. I believe they did qual grand finals and almost qualified to LAN, so this is a very good team. Rezon tries to drop down to fight, hits them for like 120 with the Q rifle because that thing still has insane assault rifle damage, and then finishes off Werix with the Q rifle, shooting him literally through the wall. Literally nothing he could do about that. Noah ends up going down here, leaving Rezon in a 1v1 to close out the game. And instead of doing any fancy height retakes, he just shoots to the side and kills him through the wall again. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next one.